welcome to another edition of Chaffee Break, where we honour exceptional light tank drivers. My name is Maxwell, and the first video of the day is from the user TK Hiatch. That's TK Hiatch, and he's driving the M3 Stuart on a standard battle on Himmelsdorf. And that's right, you heard me correctly, the first replay of the day. So this is going to be the first video of our new format, our new video format, where I'm going to be showing multiple replays within the same video. Because like I said, I've been wanting to bring you guys more content, but I just didn't want to spam you with 3 to 4 videos a day. So I just thought combining all of the videos together into one longer video of around 20 to 40 minutes would be better for you guys. And that's going to be how it's going to be continuing forward, unless you guys absolutely hate it and decide that you want to go back to the old method, which was one replay per video. So back to the battle at hand. The light tanks and the fast tanks are going to be taking to the hill immediately and seeing if they can flank around the enemy. It looks like the enemy's either pretty slow up the hill, or they just haven't bothered. Actually, it's looking like they haven't bothered rather than they are slow, as they're almost down to the bottom now and there's still nobody on this hill, so they are about to be in trouble. In fact, well, they're winning ever so slightly at the moment, but like I said, they're about to get heavily flanked, and our man here just spots out a fellow M3 Stuart and decides to start pounding him with shells. Looks like the M3 Stuart has the machine gun, so not going to be able to do as much to the front armour than our man is able to do to his side armour. Not playing very effectively and gets himself taken out. There is an M2 medium tank there, so just going to have to play this one a little more carefully. Was able to get a little bit of damage, but then an AMX and a Cruiser Mark IV both turn up, so this may be the time when discretion is the better part of valour, as he takes more than half of his hit points in damage immediately. So it's time to run the hell away. Hopefully his allies can seize on the opportunity that he's created, the confusion he's created, and they can push down that dead man's alley, but to be honest, probably not. So he's just going to flank around to the enemy's base and see if he can assist in taking out the artillery. Gets the Bison there, but unfortunately the damage is soaked up by his tracks, but the second one is able to finish him off. T57 here shouldn't be too difficult just to get the kill on this one. And there we go, picking up his third kill of this match. The M3 Stuart has fallen back to try and defend against this push on the artillery. Unfortunately, he's a little bit too late. Focusing on the Panzer 1C there, who's probably reloading as he's running away and not opening fire. Doing the same thing though, reversing away and keeping his front armour always pointed towards the M3 Stuart. But like I said, he seems to be focusing on the Panzer 1C and gets himself taken out. M2 medium tank here with the derp cannon. Got to be careful, because one hit from that thing will be enough to finish him off. The who was that coming in and suiciding there? So one of his allies just coming in and suiciding against the M2 Stuart there, but the M2 medium tank, sorry, but took enough of his hit points off for our man here to be able to finish him off. Finds this AMX, who's clearly looking in the wrong direction, punishes him for that as he's still in the flank and nobody had dealt with him. Now this is the Cruiser Mark IV that did all the damage to him earlier, but again, Cruiser Mark IV focusing on somebody else, so should be able to just finish him off here. There we go, picking up his 7th kill now of this match. So the score's pretty much, well, not pretty much, the score is in their favour at the moment with 12 to 10. Although the enemy is pushing in on the Allies' base, so just going to have to trying to sneak up behind this Universal Carrier, the 2-pounder there, with the 2-pounder cannon. Going to try and sneak up around behind him and take him by surprise, because this thing has fairly pathetic armour, so we can get off a couple of good shots, especially when he's not watching. Should be a simple case of just taking him out. Although it looks like he has vanished from the battlefield. Not sure where he's got himself to. Ah, there he is. He's decided to go up the centre instead. So our man just going to reverse and head over to the centre himself to come at this guy from the rear. To be honest, probably would have been slightly better for him to keep going up Dead Man's Alley, but a little bit slower, and then cut in from the left. Take a sharp left into the centre there, and he would have been able to come around behind the guy anyway. But spots out T60 here, so it's probably for the best that he decided to come up the centre here, as he probably would have ran headlong into that T60, and the T60 may have gotten the better of that exchange. So picks up his 8th kill so far of this match. The Universal Carrier there taking a bit of flak from somebody, although they're able to take him out, leaving out, it's just our man in the M3 Stuart against 2 enemy tanks now. But this Universal Carrier, it should be curtains, and there we go, able to finish him off, picking up his 9th kill now of this match. So it's just himself and this Panzer 1C that is capping the base. Fingers crossed he should be able to get in there and take out this Panzer 1C, but if he's not careful, Panzer 1C is going to be able to flank around to the sides or rear of him, and that machine gun cannon may be able to eliminate him. Although for some reason the 1C decided to just play footsie around the corpse of that artillery there, instead of coming out of the base and trying to flank around the sides or the rear, which is probably what he should have done if he wanted to pick himself up this kill. But as it happens, our man TK Hiach going to move in, charge towards him, and able to finish him off, picking up a monster 10 kills in this match. So absolutely brilliant replay from him. Thank you very much for sending that one in. Stick around, guys, because there's another replay coming right up. Welcome to our second match of the day. This one comes to us from the user Deadlie. That's Deadlie, and he's driving the T50-2 on a standard battle on the highway, and this one is a tier 10 battle, so he's going to have to play this one extra smart and extra careful, as just a couple of shots or even just one shot from some of the bigger guns will be more than enough to send him packing early and off to an early trip to the garage. So as you can see, people in the chat just telling the arty to cover the T52. Going to see if that one pans out. So going to be heading all the way up the northern flank and heading onto this left-hand side to try and spot out who we can early. Spots out a Batchat, 25 ton, making a beeline across this way as well. Unfortunately, he's not as fast as the T52, and T52 of Deadlie's gotten into place way earlier than he has. In fact, the Batchat probably hasn't even loaded his cannon yet, and already eliminated from the game. So picking up his first spotting kill of this match, then spots out a T54 and a 1375. Again, both of them trying to take up a spotting position like our man here did. Unfortunately, they aren't quite quick enough. Taking a hit there from the 1375, so it's lucky that he got a hit from that one rather than a larger cannon, as that one could have spelled disaster. So just going to try and keep this T54 in sight while his allies pound him and get some damage on him. Got to always be careful to try and keep the terrain between himself and the enemy tanks. Not only between himself and his T54, but he's got to keep these buildings and these hills between himself and where the enemies will be spawning. Artillery already punishing that T54 for overextending. He came out way too far in order to try and take out this T50-2, and unfortunately gets himself taken out by the Object 261. Finds himself an IS-7, who's also overextended. Well, when he started making this move, he probably wasn't overextended, but thanks to the excellent spotting and the excellent cover of the artillery, he is now way overextended and out by himself. I just want to give a good shout out to the artillery in this game, doing a very good job of punishing the targets that the T52 spots out. So just trying to keep eyes on this IS-7 for as long as possible. As you can see, the artillery just absolutely pounding him here. So it seems that it's just a case of the T52 spots them out and the artillery removes them from the map. It's only going to be one or two more shots now to take out this IS-7, just waiting for the artillery to reload. IS-7 trying in vain to try and get a shot or some bearings on this T52, but just not allowing him to do that. Just keeping eyes on him for as long as possible. And just one more shot should be enough, and there we go, gets himself eliminated. So now it's going to be time to move on to the enemy base and maybe do a little bit of counter artillery and try and find the enemy's artillery, either take them out himself, because his gun will be able to damage those, even though this is a tier 10 match and these artillery are absolute monsters, should still be able to damage them, and try and find out what tank destroyers the enemy has left covering their base. But still got to play it carefully, because you don't want to overextend too much, as it still is only going to be 1 or 2 shots until you get taken out yourself. Spotted 2 of the enemy's artillery there, and it looks like that's a heavy tank over there, an M103. Amazingly though, the M103 hits him and does 0 damage. So the gods of light tanks have certainly been smiling on Deadlie in this match. The shot from the M103 either been soaked by the tracks or just not going through and doing any damage there. Just got to be careful and try and keep the terrain and these buildings between himself and the M103. Going to drop back far enough that he definitely fades away from view, and then going to head back in to try and either keep the M103 in spotting range, or maybe go out and try and re-spot the artillery there. The best idea though is to get that M103 out of the battle as quickly as possible first, and then move on and try and take out the artillery. As you can see, spots out the M103 who's making a move, gets a big hit in the face, but he's lucky that it didn't do slightly more and take him out. And the M103 is just going to get pounded from the side. Deadlie just positioning himself so that if necessary he can make a run for it. Looks like the M103 is trying to aim underneath and just about missing there, hitting the ground just before the rear of the T-52 of Deadlie there, and then gets himself taken out by the Jagdtiger. In fact, takes him out. So I'm going to head back into the enemy base and try and find where the artillery's moved off to, because almost certain... Oh, I was going to say almost certainly they will have moved, because that would have been the smart thing to do, but it looks like the GW Type E and the M40 actually haven't moved. So to be honest, the first time they got spotted, they probably should have started making a beeline for the other end of the map, or taking cover down in the river. But unfortunately, neither of them decided to do that, and they're going to get themselves counter-artilleried right about now. So finds the third artillery as well, the GW Tiger. Sees that the Type E is focusing on somebody else. Probably focusing on the Jagdtiger there, so it gives our man Deadlie the opportunity to just come around behind him and get some free shots into his rear. Picks himself up a little bit of damage there. Going to move on and try and find out the last artillery, which is the last tank in the battle. Going to see if he can maybe pick up a little bit more damage for himself, or possibly even a kill. Looks like the GW Type E has just given up, pointing his gun at the ground and just thinking, I'm having none of this, the game's over, there's no way I'm going to be able to come back from this, and that is GG. So absolutely brilliant replay from Deadlie there, doing over 5,000 points of spotting damage. Absolutely brilliant showing in a T50-2 in a tier 10 game, absolutely massacring the enemy, killing all 15 and only losing 3 tanks themselves. So absolutely brilliant replay from you. Thank you very much for sending that one in. Stick around guys, and I will catch you in a moment. So, next clip of the day is from the user Brandtastic. That's Brandtastic. And he's driving the M5 Stuart on a standard battle on the Siegfried line. The M5 Stuart, in my opinion, is one of the better tier 4 scout tanks. I absolutely loved playing this one. And especially when you've got that derp cannon and when you are the top tier tank, this thing is an absolute beast and you can just drive around and have immense amounts of fun with it. So, first off, he's heading to the town square in the centre here. Going to see who we can find and see if he can take somebody out of the battle immediately. Tries to have a shot at the enemy Stuart there, but doesn't quite hit him. Not quite able to get a shot on him. but luckily the M5 Stuart wasn't quite able to get a good hit on him, although he did do a little bit of damage. Just going to sneak through the little walkway under the building here and going to see if he can snipe someone out, although this derp cannon not the best weapon for sniping. So not quite able to get any damage onto anybody here, so just going to head around the side of these buildings and see if he can catch somebody else unawares lurking in this area here. Although it looks like the enemy has sort of a staggered diagonal line approach when coming into the town. So just going to drop back behind his own lines, come across the city and see if he can plug a gap anywhere. As you can see, the enemy's pushing pretty heavily on that left-hand flank there. Getting slightly overconfident, and it looked like they were even bringing some artillery up into that area. So Brandtastic just going to have a move across here and possibly see if he can help out on that far left-hand flank in the open terrain. Slowing down there in case there was some enemy lurking in this area. Does indeed find out the enemy's M5 Stuart, who presents his rear armour and gets himself eliminated. Not quite able to make it over that dirt pile as the wall just getting in the way there. Just going to wait for him to reload and able to take out the T-70, picking up his second kill so far of this match. So just running away slightly, trying to avoid hits from the enemy. Uses his speed and momentum to catapult him over the tank traps there. And then just going to head across the centre of the map there and try and see if we can plug some gaps on this far left-hand flank. As you can see, they've been slightly overwhelmed, only got a couple of tank destroyers parked all the way up there, and the enemy had even moved artillery up into this area. So just going to have a scout around and see who we can find. Finds the Su-18. Going to see if we can get around behind him and take him out. Just keeping eyes on those guys on the far left-hand side there, because doesn't want to get shot in the side as he's trying to take out the artillery. As his first shot misses, the artillery thankfully missed as well, and the second shot was able to take him out, picking up his third kill so far of this match. That M3 Lee is perfectly poised there to be able to just pound Brandtastic with rounds there, so not really going to get involved in that fight, just going to fall back and possibly head back into the village. And that one was incredibly close there, almost taking him out. As you see, the M3 Lee still laying fire into this area. M2 medium tank there, going to have a couple of shots, but unfortunately miss. Brandtastic's second shot, able to get some good damage on him. That M3 Lee still shooting, but just going to leave him to somebody else, just let it be somebody else's problem while he drops back to the allied spawn area, because as you can see, there is an AMX-40 moving in to possibly go and do some counter artillery work there. As you can see, all they've got in that area is the M3 Stuart and then all of the artillery, so he's just going to drop back and see if he can lend a hand and help take out this AMX-40. So at the moment they do have artillery superiority, and that is something that you definitely want to try and keep hold of in a battle if you've got it. The AMX-40 taking a big hit there, presumably from the artillery, but he hasn't noticed our man Brandtastic coming in from the flank. Unfortunately, this AMX-40 has pretty ridiculous armour, especially for a light tank, but he just needs to get a tiny bit of damage on him there and pick up his fourth kill of this match. So the enemy artillery having a quick shot at him there, knowing that it's going to be a bit of a risk to leave a fast-moving light tank alive, especially when you've only got the artillery, a tank destroyer, and one other light tank. It's another AMX-40 to be honest, so probably the best light tank for them to be left with. As I've already said, that thing seems to have ridiculous armour, especially when it is top tier. So just going to have a scout around in the city, see if he can find anybody, but to be honest, there's probably nobody here. They're probably camped somewhere around their spawn area, especially because it's the artillery, so the artillery's not going to stray too far. The tank destroyer will probably be camped somewhere in these bushes because it's the only place that they haven't really scouted yet. Not 100% sure where the AMX-40 will be. He has a kill, so he may be somewhere lurking in that city that they haven't discovered yet. Excuse me. So he's probably just going to head down the hill now, see if he can get some eyes on their spawn area and try and uncover some of these bushes to see if somebody is in that area. In fact, all three tanks parked one on top of each other in the spawn zone. Not sure what they were trying to achieve there. First shot able to take out the Wesp. Going to see if he can get a hit on any of the other guys.
That's gotta hurt.
Got some good damage through the front of that tank destroyer there, but he gets himself down to 17 hit points. So just going to have to reverse and use the terrain as cover here. Try and dissuade that AMX-40 from shooting him. As you can see, his allies have already started coming over the hills, and there's only a couple tanks left. So it should be a case of just mopping up this last guy left, and that should be game. So absolutely brilliant replay there from Brandtastic, showing the power of the M5 Stuart when used as a fast scout and a fast assault tank, especially when you are top tier in the battle. So thank you very much for sending that replay in to us, and stick around for the next replay. Our next replay is from the user Verminator. That's Verminator, and he's driving the T50 on a standard battle on the Fisherman's Bay. The T50 is the fast, light scout tank for the Russians, and he's going to be doing a standard fast scout start, which is head straight up the centre of the map, cut across to the left or right, and see how many people you can spot on your way. As you can see, he gets right to the centre of the map and then cuts left, and he's going to try and spot anybody coming directly up the centre of the map, and just try and get eyes on the enemy spawn area and see which direction people are taking. Unfortunately, he's gotten himself up the hill slightly too quickly, and there is literally nobody around as of yet. So going to cut back across the opposite direction and try and head across the hill the other way and see if he can spot anybody that way. So spots a few of the enemies out, so get some good eyes on enemy positions now. And it's going to be time to just pick a flank and go and support it. Obviously, the T50 is a fantastic tank when it is near the top of the table. Obviously, both sides only have one tier 5 each, the enemy having a KV-1 and the allies having a Panzer 4. So the allies are going to have to focus fire on that KV-1 and try and take him out as quickly as possible, as that thing is a lion among gazelles in a match like this, and he's going to have an easy time of just picking people off at his leisure. So spotting that some of the enemy is trying to make a beeline through the town there, and none of the allies have kind of committed any forces over here, so it's going to be up to our man Verminator to try and do something about it. Spots out a Panzer 3A. It's a good bit of damage on him before he's able to return any. And able to take out the Panzer 3A before he's able to really get any damage whatsoever onto the T50. Got a little bit of damage onto his track, but that's nothing really. So going to flank all the way around and see if he can come at this T46 from the rear. To be honest, that T46 probably should have started making a move before now, but gets himself taken out by that Panzer 4 on the other side of the bay there. So that's the small fishing town dealt with, and he's kind of left with a clear run onto the enemy's base here, so that's kind of what he's going to do. Spots out the KV-1 again, who still hasn't made it up the hill, being the slow, sluggish beast that it is. But like I said, the T-50's been left with a clear run all the way onto the enemy's base here, so just going to see who he can spot out. Finds the enemy artillery, but decides to himself that his own artillery will probably be able to deal with that, so he's just going to try and take out the camping tanks. Takes out the M2 medium tank that wasn't really watching, and is now going to go onto the Renault tank destroyer. Going to try and take him out. Unfortunately, having a little bit of bad luck and missing a couple of shots, but he is able to flank around him, missing his third shot in a row there. A little bit unfortunate. Probably going to take a hit while his gun reloads. lose a little bit of hit points, and now he's going to move on to this medium 2 and try and take him out. It looks like the Allied artillery still hasn't taken out the enemy artillery. Actually, that's probably because the Allied artillery has been killed now. Didn't notice that one go down, but it looks like they are losing quite significantly at the moment. But should be able to finish off this medium Mark II and then move on to the AMX, who has his shot, but unfortunately just about misses. Tries to ram the T-50, but the T-50 just agile enough to get along beside him instead of taking his full weight in the face. A couple of shots are just enough to take him out, picking up his 5th kill so far of this match. It looks like the left-hand flank has been totally cleaned up now. Nobody left over there. KV-1 still not quite able to make it over the crest of that hill. He's moving down into the town now. Probably going to go back and try and deal with that M2 medium tank, who has only 9 hit points left. In fact, they're only tier 5. The Panzer Mark IV already been eliminated from the match. So it's going to be up to the T-50 of Verminator here and the the T-82 trying to defend out the base. Unfortunately, they've got Panzer 1Cs in there, and those machine guns will absolutely tear to shreds anything that has an open cockpit. So he's got to try and defend the base all on his own against these 3 tanks here. Panzer 1Cs, and my god, that is a lot of fire. In fact, it's him against 4 tanks. So we're going to try and take out the highest threats first, which is this 38NA. I'm just going to try and keep his front armour pointed towards as many of the enemy tanks as possible. It looks like the M3 Steward has decided to come in here and use the 38NA as a human shield. But unfortunately, he's going to present his rear armour to the T-50 and going to get himself cleaned up. The tracks have been taken out now, so it's going to be this Panzer 1C going to be able to just get behind him. But again, just going to try and keep his front armour pointed at as many of these tanks as possible while he tries to clean up these guys, because it appears that the Panzer 1Cs aren't particularly great at penetrating the front armour of this T-50. That Panzer 1C trying to make a run for it, but not quite able to get away, and then this 38T is also going to get himself taken out. So, absolutely amazing piece of play there from the Verminator, picking up his 9th kill of the match and going head-to-head against 4 enemy tanks and being able to clean them up and take them out of the battle. Again, keeping his front armour and angled side armour presented to as many of the targets as possible and cleaning up the highest threats first and working his way down the list. So it's just himself and this KV-1 left. If he can corner the KV-1 somewhere, he should, I was about to say, if he engages them in the open fields, this KV-1, if he plays it smart, well, that's GG right there. I was going to say, if that KV-1 can engage him in the open field and get a good first hit on him, then this one will be all over. But like I said, this KV-1 should now be able, well, it's pretty much game over. This KV-1 going to get mopped up now, as his turret traverse is going to be nowhere near good enough to catch the T-50. But actually, just looking, T-50 only has 5 rounds of premium ammo left, and then it's all high explosive. So he's going to have to play this one very carefully and only take shots that he knows he's going to be able to penetrate. 2 shots left. He's going to have to be very careful with this one and only go on the rear armour. Try and lure the KV-1 into making a mistake and presenting that rear armour, because again, the KV-1 has no idea that he only has 2 rounds left. Going to move out to a distance just so that he can get a good hit. Oof! That one not quite going through. Unfortunately, going to see if he can get a good hit on that rear armour rather than getting the oblique angle of the engine housing. There we go. Oh, absolutely amazing. Managing to set him on fire with his last round and able to take him out. So absolutely amazing replay there from the Verminator. Firstly, going head-to-head against 4 tanks in the Allied cap zone and taking every single one of them out. And then going one-on-one with hardly any ammunition left against a KV-1. Setting him on fire and picking up the kill with his last premium round. So absolutely brilliant replay from you. Thank you very much for sending that one in.